I bid you welcome.
I welcome you to my house.
Welcome to my house.
Welcome to my home.
Hello Horror Hounds, welcome to my horror house. For the last couple of weeks, I've been thinking on and off about the line, "I never drink wine," from 1931's Dracula, and the way Bela Lugosi delivers that line, and the problem it must have caused every other actor who's been asked to say that line. And I've been thinking about the one actor I think who rises magnificently to the challenge. Little insight into my mind. This is often the kind of stuff that rattles around in here during my downtime. Everyone knows the line, "I never drink wine." It's delivered in such a particular, very mannered way. It doesn't appear in the book. It's not part of Bram Stoker's text. Reading up about it, it seems that it wasn't part of the play that Lugosi was the lead in before the film was made. It was written for the film, but apparently was so popular that it then got wrote into the play, and like much of Lugosi's performance in that film, kind of instantly becomes what Dracula is. And to my mind at least, every other adaptation of Dracula after that either has to take that line head on or avoid it altogether. So both scenarios, I think that line becomes a problem. One of the reasons it becomes a problem is because, wow, it's ripe. It's so ripe. It's so mannered, and it's really verging on the hammy. That pause, almost a verbal wink to camera. But I drink blood, right, folks? I think Lugosi gets away with it just because his performance from introduction and in the castle and everything all leading up to it is also very mannered and very poised and very particular. Lugosi is playing a dead thing, a centuries-old dead thing who is trying to force his face into a welcoming smile, and it looks like a rictus grin. He is trying to project welcoming bonhomie, and it comes across strange and uncanny and not quite right. In the build-up to the line itself, he's pouring the drink and staring at Renfield, and he looks like a spider who's looking at a fly. He looks like someone pretending to be a man, so that when this ripe purple line comes from his lips,
"Aren't you drinking?" "I never drink." "Why?"
It seems to almost be the perfect embodiment of he's reading the line wrong. The line reading is not great. The line reading is so over the top, but that is what this Dracula is at this point. He settles down once he gets to England, once he becomes more used to the company of humans. He can pass for human a lot more easily, but at this stage in the film, he's been, I guess, on his own for centuries, and he's essentially pretending once more to be human and getting it completely wrong. What we instantly get with Lugosi is, well, this is Dracula. That performance in that film became Dracula. Even today, generations later, with so many different other actors' takes on the role, and with all due deference to Sir Christopher Lee, when you say Dracula, you instantly think Bela Lugosi, or at least I do. And then after that, the millisecond after that, you start to take into account, okay, yes, also the novel, and also all of these other adaptations and different takes and things like that. I'm minded of a story John Landis told about seeing American Werewolf in London either being screened or being put together in the editing room, and when he saw the shots, the Wolf's POV shots, the low slung camera moving around the London Underground, he said, well, there's an instant cliche. And with Lugosi's reading of the line, "I never drink wine," instant cliche. It's not surprising that most of the people who tackle this line head on do it as parody. I can think of George Hamilton in Love at First Bite. There's Gerard Butler in Dracula 2000 who puts a little twist on it, and you know you're in parody zone when Leslie Nielsen has a crack at it. Check out these parody versions of the classic line.
I do not drink wine.
Oh.
And I do not smoke shit.
Oh, can I get you some coffee or something?
I don't drink coffee.
I never drink wine. Ah, what the hell? Let me try it. It's good.
There are other actors who have had to say this line and not have the comfort of being in a comedy or a parody, or with the case of Dracula 2000, a sort of riff on Dracula. And all bar one, this list is not exhaustive, by the way. I don't think Christopher Lee said it. I don't think Jack Palance said it. I don't think Klaus Kinski said it in Nosferatu, even though he is equally spider-like in his performance. I think those adaptations sort of used the "it's not in Stoker, get out of jail" card. Yet, for me, when I'm watching those films and Harker or Renfield or whoever is being given food and wine by Dracula, you weirdly, you wait for the line, I never drink wine. Oh, Dracula says that, doesn't he? It's like when James Bond says the name's Bond, James Bond. Dracula always says, "I never drink wine," doesn't he? Gary Oldman was not asked to sidestep it. He was asked to tackle it head on. And he puts the pause in. He does a Lugosi. He sort of swallows it a little. I think there's a little knowingness to it, but he can't find a way to say it that's not Lugosi.
And I never drink wine.
In the relatively recent BBC adaptation of Dracula, Claes Bang is given the line as well, and there's the Lugosi pause. There's the hammy pause. There's the little wink to the audience. Here it is.
Perhaps I could pour you some, Count.
I do not drink wine.
I think that was on purpose in that version, that three-part sort of mini-series of Dracula riffs on an awful lot of the cinematic history of Dracula, all through the Hammer years as well, with nods to even things like Dracula AD 1972. So, since 1931, that line and that line delivery it's belonged to Bela Lugosi. Apart from one time that I can think of, apart from one actor who was also asked to deliver that line and made it completely his own, made it something completely different. An actor who, like Lugosi, had played Dracula on stage in a Broadway run, I think it is, of Dracula, and then that stage run was made into the Frank Langella Dracula. Frank Langella is in a scene with Seward and Harker and Mina and Lucy, and it's a dinner scene, and all the guys are sort of dicking around trying to be top dog, and Dracula just comes in and he just owns all of them. He's utterly dismissive of the men and absolutely attentive to the women, and he just discards the line in the same way that he discards the men. It's an annoyance. I'm having this conversation. Oh no, I never drink wine. Have a look. I think it's absolutely brilliant.
Count, some wine. You haven't.
No, thank you, Doctor. I never drink wine.
I guess it's a particular nut to crack with stage actors. How many countless thousands of actors have had to have said to be or not to be? There's a small little group of actors who have had to say, the name's Bond, James Bond. There are certain things that are all, it's almost like they're in the public domain, and yet you have to try and find new and interesting ways of saying it. I think it's particularly interesting that with, to my knowledge, and please let me know if there are any other examples, I tried to find clips from the 70s BBC adaptation with Louis Jourdan and couldn't find any. I'd love to know if he was asked to say the line and how he delivered it. I just find it just tickles me that most adaptations go, no, we're just not going there. Unless it's a comedy or a spoof, in which case they sink their fangs in, if you'll allow the pun. And when in non-comedy or spoof areas actors are asked to say it, they essentially do it how Lugosi did it, apart from Langella, who I think his Dracula needs more love. I think that adaptation needs more love. It's kind of got lost in the mist of time, which is an absolute crying shame because I think it's a cracking version of Dracula.
Sherry, Mario? Thank you. I never drink wine.
But it just goes to show, at least in my mind, how long a shadow Bela Lugosi casts to this day as Count Dracula. I never drink wine.